You know, there's something happening in offices all over the world. It's not always loud, it's not always obvious, but it is incredibly damaging. It's a kind of silent, coordinated attack that can turn a job you love into an absolute nightmare. We're talking about something called workplace mobbing.
Just think about it for a second. Have you ever had that feeling of being totally isolated? Or, when the whispers suddenly stop the moment you walk into a room? That sense of being deliberately left out? Well, if any of that sounds familiar, you're definitely not imagining things, and you are far from alone.
In fact, check this out. According to one survey, a staggering 60.3 million Americans have been affected by this. That's a massive number. This isn't some rare one-off thing. It's a huge issue that's just hiding in plain sight in so many workplaces.
Now, right away, you might be thinking, okay, this just sounds like bullying, but it's actually way more complex than that. And honestly, in many ways, it's far more sinister. See, mobbing isn't just one person being a jerk, it's a group effort.
So, what is it that really separates mobbing from your typical office drama or a simple conflict? Let's break down what workplace mobbing truly is.
So, this term was actually coined by a Swedish psychiatrist, a guy named Heinz Lehmann, and he saw it as this systematic campaign of psychological terror. The two key words to remember here are group and helpless. It's all about the power of the many against the one.
And that right there is the end game. This isn't just a random conflict that blows up. It is a malicious, very intentional effort to completely undermine someone, to make them feel so beaten down that they feel like they have no other choice but to just leave.
Okay, so it is absolutely critical to understand the difference between mobbing and simple bullying, because how we label it, how we talk about it, completely changes how we see it, and more importantly, how we can fight against it.
All right, think of it like this. Bullying is usually a one-on-one thing, right? One aggressor, one target. It's a duel. Mobbing, on the other hand, is group aggression. It's more like an ambush. It's a kind of conspiracy, whether it's spoken or unspoken, to single out one individual. And because it gets tangled up in the company's own culture, it can feel like there's absolutely nowhere to turn.
And this graphic is a great illustration of how it can happen. It's not always a boss picking on an employee. That's what we call downward mobbing. It can actually be a group of subordinates ganging up on their manager, which is known as upward mobbing. And then, of course, you've got horizontal mobbing, which is when a group of coworkers targets one of their own peers.
So, what do these attacks actually look like in the day-to-day? Well, the tactics are often really subtle, almost sneaky. They're designed to be deniable, which is exactly what makes them so psychologically destructive.
It almost always starts here, with gossip. Vicious rumors start getting spread around to just chip away at the target's reputation. The gossip might be about their professional skills, or it might get personal, attacking their private life. But the goal is always the same: isolate them and turn everyone else against them.
And then comes the stonewalling. All of a sudden, the target's ideas are totally ignored in meetings. Their emails just go unanswered. They get cut off from critical information they need to do their job, making it pretty much impossible for them to succeed. It's like they're being made invisible on purpose.
This one is all about social and professional isolation. The target is accidentally left off important meeting invites. They're forgotten on crucial email chains. They don't get invited to lunch or after-work drinks. The whole point is to make them feel completely and utterly alone inside the organization.
What's wild here is just how real and sometimes how childishly cruel these tactics can get. This case is a perfect example. Hiding someone's mail, blowing raspberries at them. I mean, these things sound like they belong on a playground, but when it's done by a group, day after day, it creates this unbearable, hostile world for the person being targeted.
So, this is way more than just office drama. Mobbing has severe, very real consequences, and not just for the target, but for the entire company. For the victim, the psychological toll is often compared to the 5 stages of grief, and this massive emotional burden has serious physical consequences. The Workplace Bullying Institute found that 45% of targets suffer from stress-related health problems. We're talking anxiety, deep depression, even PTSD.
So who's leading the charge? You might think it's just a clique of jealous coworkers, but the data tells a really different story. In over 60% of cases, the mobbing is started or led by a boss. And that abuse of power makes it incredibly difficult, almost impossible, for a target to find help within the company.
And if you think a company that lets this happen gets off scot-free, you're wrong. They pay a huge price. Morale just plummets, productivity tanks, and your best employees, both the victims and the good people who witness it, they're going to leave. That leads to massive turnover costs, and of course, opens the door for expensive, reputation-destroying lawsuits.
So the big question is, how do you stop something that's so sneaky and so pervasive? Well, the responsibility really falls squarely on the shoulders of management and HR to step up and intervene.
This right here is the most common and, frankly, the most damaging mistake a company can make. When someone finally gets the courage to file a complaint, it's so easy for HR to just write it off as, oh, they just don't get along. But mobbing is not a personality conflict. It is a form of harassment, and it has to be treated that seriously.
The only real solution here is a proactive one. It all starts with a crystal clear, zero-tolerance policy. But a policy is just a piece of paper, right? It requires training everyone, from the top down, to recognize the signs. You have to create a safe reporting system where every single complaint is taken seriously and investigated. Ultimately, it's about building a culture of respect, where this kind of behavior just can't take root.
So as we wrap up, I'll just leave you with this question to chew on. Take a look around your own office, at the dynamics between your colleagues. Are you all part of a real team, one that's built on collaboration and respect? Or are there maybe some signs that a mob might be forming in the shadows? Recognizing that difference is the first, most important step to making sure your workplace is safe and healthy for everyone.